Some great news for Tesla investors today. Looky what just appeared on the Tesla website. First responder information for Robotaxi. This page now includes Cybercab. Let's read. Tesla is committed to public safety and awareness regarding our products. Use the following resources, including first responder interaction plans, emergency response guides, and rescue sheets to understand how to safely respond to situations involving an autonomous Cybercab in service with Robotaxi. Funnily enough, these documents, which we'll look through in a moment, actually reveal a lot of interesting features and functions of Cybercab itself that I'm sure will be of interest to at least some nerdy Tesla investors. But before we get to these, the fact that this has now appeared, Tesla providing guidance for first responders, what to do in a situation where there's been a collision, there's an emergency, how to interact with the Cybercab. This is not noise. This is a massive, clear signal. Why would Tesla have gone to the effort? Why would Tesla just be publishing these if the imminent deployment of the very first commercial Tesla Cybercab robotaxis, which we've already seen flying off production lines in Texas, wasn't just around the corner? The first document we'll take a peek at, information for first and second responders. This is the official Cybercab emergency response guide. What to do when it has officially hit the fan. We won't go through every little detail in these documents. Going through and I'll pull out a few highlights that are particularly of note to Tesla investors, engineers, nerds, how's the vehicle work, what's the design, and so on. As you can see, this is a very comprehensive guide. We have everything from what to do in the case of fire to what to do in the case of the vehicle being submerged. And here we get a close-up look at the Cybercab. 2 doors, 2 seats. This is a diagram of the electrical architecture. We'll take a moment on point number 1, identification and recognition, which, let's be real, is not going to be particularly challenging. It's not far off a Cybertruck in terms of, oh, I know exactly what that is from a mile away. Form factor, wheel covers, and light bars. Cybercab can be identified by the distinct light bars. Obviously, this is in particular at night. Unique form factor, large wheel covers, and distinct gold coloration, which, for those unaware, we believe this is Tesla's modern take on the typical bright yellow New York City cab color. The next generation, the future iteration. So this is all but certainly going to be the color Cybercabs come in. No variations. The doors are opened by a button on the B pillar. Cybercab has cameras on the front fender. There are no side mirrors. Cybercabs in service with Robotaxi have the Cybercab word mark on the sides and trunk lid of the vehicle. Now, this is an interesting sentence. Back to the Tesla website. This decal here, Cybercab, means it's currently operating on Tesla's Robotaxi network as a Robotaxi. But wait a minute. Isn't this designed to be a Robotaxi? That's its whole purpose. So many investors will have the question, hang on, why wouldn't they all just say Cybercab on the side? Now, some of them not going to be Robotaxis. Some folks might immediately conclude this could only mean one thing. Many of these vehicles will be sold to customers, and some of them won't need the Cybercab decal because they'll never operate as a Robotaxi, or if they do, maybe it'll be for personal use, and occasionally, I guess it could join the fleet as well. I have some thoughts, but first, on the same Tesla website, the first responders page under Robotaxi, we have Cybercab, but we also have Model Y. And we'll note that the Model Y vehicles operating in the Robotaxi network also have a decal denoting Robotaxi. So does that mean we're going to see a bunch of Cybercabs driving around with customers operating them for personal use too? Well, it's possible, but let's think through this logically. I might ask a few questions. Number 1, are we already today seeing numerous Tesla Cybercabs throughout the United States on public roads testing? Yes, we are. And today, are there any Tesla Cybercabs actually operating commercially as Robotaxis anywhere on Earth? And the answer to that would be no. The next question, will Tesla continue to test Tesla Cybercabs in new areas, cities, regions, states throughout the United States as they prepare to launch in new areas? Yes. So a logical question to ask is, why would it even matter? Why would you need to show people, especially for Cybercab, whether or not it's actually operating as a Robotaxi or not? What difference does it make if somebody sees one in their city and it's currently testing, or if it's actually operating as a commercial Robotaxi? That's a good question to ask. Let's think through this. Well, option number 1, there may come a time, maybe even immediately at launch, where you could actually wave down a Tesla Cybercab if it's empty. If there's an indicator that it's not on its way to pick somebody up, the camera system might actually be able to visually see you wave it down. The app might be able to sync up on your phone. You might be able to engage in a trip by doing that. At some point, that'd be pretty dumb not to have as a feature. It's not that big of a deal if you just need to use the app, whip out your phone. But I mean, they've got the cameras, they've got the AI. Can't hurt, right? But I don't think this is the major reason why I'd want the decal, so people don't bother trying to wave down a currently testing non-operational Cybercab. Another possibility is this is just a signal to emergency services workers. It's also possible, maybe even likely, that this is a signal to the people in the city, where they'll see more and more Cybercabs appearing. Perhaps, for example, an operational Cybercab is located in a city where most people on average are completely insane drivers, extremely aggressive. Perhaps this is Tesla's way of alerting these potentially crazy and potentially extremely angry, if Cybercab is not matching their vibe and their energy, drivers, that winding your window down, delivering a double bird to the Cybercab and telling it to go fuck itself may not be an effective strategy. It's also possible that Tesla just wanted to put the decals on there because it looks cool. Personally, I think it's probably a combination of many of these answers, and also some I haven't even considered. It does leave the door open for the possibility that some Cybercabs could be purchased by consumers for personal use, although whether or not that's likely, who knows. But it is very clear that as Cybercab begins to ramp up production ramps and they begin testing, then initially launch, then scale in different cities throughout the US and then eventually the world, there will be points of time where there's a massively mixed fleet of Cybercabs, some in use, others still testing in new areas. So a very clear visual indicator, this is operating as a Robotaxi, this is not, can't hurt. We can see the distinction between operational Robotaxis down the bottom here with the Cybercab decals both on the sides and rear, and those that are not yet operating as Robotaxis or not at all operating as Robotaxis. Now look, I enjoy stoking speculation, so I don't want to rain on anyone's parade too heavily here, but if I was Tesla, just hypothetically, and I was going to sell Cybercabs to consumers for their own personal use, I wouldn't make them in gold. I mean, that's how I'd solve that confusion problem. I'd make them another color. If it's gold, it's a Cybercab. If it's not gold, it's not a Cybercab. As they're scaling, obviously the decal will be useful, but over the long term, if for any reason Tesla were to sell Cybercabs modified with the wheel and pedals, etc., just don't make them in gold and people aren't going to be confused. They're not going to be thinking that that's a Robotaxi driving down the road when it's hot pink or black. If I'm being honest, I think the decal is just an easy distinction to make things a little bit clearer for both Tesla employees and the consumers in the general public. What's going on? That's testing, that's operating. Simple as that. Could be wrong, maybe I am. Speculate away. And what do we have here? Touch screen and cabin. Cybercab is an SAE level 4 two-seat autonomous vehicle and is not typically equipped with a steering wheel or acceleration and brake pedals. How interesting. Words matter, and the words here seem to suggest that sometimes, occasionally, a Cybercab may be equipped with a steering wheel and or acceleration and brake pedals. Why might this be? There's probably a handful of possible answers to this. Let's think through some of them. Extremely early on in the Cybercab production ramp, the testing phase probably makes sense for a human Tesla employee while they are currently testing to have a familiar control system, wheel and pedals. Seems reasonable, right? Until the software, FSD, is near perfect, you're probably going to want some way to manually control this thing that's fairly intuitive and familiar to people at Tesla testing the vehicles. You probably don't want to design the entire vehicle around the integration of a wheel and pedals, given the fact that it's designed to be completely autonomous. But early days, what other choice would you have? But is that it? Some people might conclude, well, obviously this means that some Cybercabs will have a steering wheel and pedals and therefore will be sold to consumers for their personal use. That is possible. I wouldn't count on it. When it might happen, it might not. I'm not saying either way. But let's think through this a little bit more. What other reasons might this be something that Tesla can, if necessary, sort of hot swap in on some Cybercabs? Wait, I've got an idea. What if there are some locations in which Tesla launches, but for whatever reason, perhaps regulatory, perhaps there's particular software limitations, perhaps there's a anti-technology mentality within a particular city or even state or country, perhaps Tesla will be forced to have a quote-unquote human driver in some of these locales, even if the actual vehicle's doing 100% of the driving. Let's just imagine there's a hypothetical city somewhere in the United States called definitely not New York, with an insane socialist mayor, crazy economically destructive policies, anti-progress, anti-technology, who has a groundswell of support. Let's say Tesla wanted to hypothetically launch their Robotaxi service in this hypothetical city called not New York, just for example. And this hypothetical socialist mayor who can bench more than you can, at least if we count socialist reps.
Yeah! Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go! Yeah! Let me get one more, let me get three!
Says, no technology. That's bad. for the taxi drivers. No Tesla Cybercabs for you. Option 1, Tesla could just not launch at all in this hypothetical city. Option 2, okay, fine, we'll just have a human-driven ride-hail service. For now, wink, wink, launch. Have someone there doing literally nothing. Then fight for approval, or worst case, wait until the entire city has crumbled under the insane economically destructive policies of this mental case. The people want change, someone new gets voted in, and suddenly all these cybercabs that have had somebody sitting behind the wheel doing literally nothing for the last few years, wheel and pedals are removed. And Tesla's off to the races. Now, I'm just thinking about possible reasons why some of these might be equipped with the wheel and pedals. My long-term thesis is that none of them will need a steering wheel and pedals, and they'll all be operating as autonomous vehicles. But it is a useful and probably, at least in some situations, necessary interim step to at least be able to equip some cybercabs with the wheel and pedals for some period of time. One thing I can tell you for sure is there's speculation after seeing this that cybercabs are not typically equipped with the wheel and pedals. It's going to go absolutely ballistic with theories and speculation, and I'm all for it. Speculate away. Moving on. Can confirm, as of today, we know the Cybercab, as we can see on screen now, has a front drive unit, not rear wheel drive, not all wheel drive. There's a few reasons for this. The first, and by far the most important, is cost. Tesla's Cybercab, their dedicated robotaxi, has been designed, engineered from the ground up, quite literally, to do one thing, autonomy, and to do so as affordably as possible. This includes everything from ongoing operational costs, the entire drivetrain, aerodynamics, the actual cost for energy to move the thing from point A to point B, few moving parts, very little maintenance. But Tesla's also designed this thing to be as fast and cost effective to produce as possible. A front wheel drive design is meaningfully cheaper to build than rear wheel drive. Not only is it cheaper and faster to produce as a front wheel drive product, but as we can see on screen now, having the electric motor up front creates the maximum possible space for both passengers and the trunk, which is absolutely enormous. And I don't think most people are appreciating the staggering storage capacity of the Cybercab's trunk. The final boss of Is It Big Enough would be 2 women traveling on an international vacation spanning many months. Is there enough storage for their luggage, their 6,000 pairs of shoes, 69 trillion different outfits, a hairdryer, even though the hotels probably have one, a hair straightener? You get the point. And the answer to this question is yes. I don't think there'll be a single situation. By the way, I'm just laughing because I know there's some people getting butthurt because I said something that's true, but I'm not allowed to say something that's true because I generalize. But you know it's true, and that's why you're offended, because you don't like me saying something that's true that you're not allowed to accept as true. I don't think there'll be a single instance, even the most extreme case of luggage where Cybercab doesn't have enough capacity. A rear-wheel drive would have meaningfully cut into the rear storage capacity, the trunk, and also a little bit of the passenger space in the cabin itself. One interesting feature here, the active hood, pretty common in a lot of more modern vehicles here, but for those unaware, let's just read. The active hood pedestrian protection system is a safety feature that can detect an impact with the pedestrian while the vehicle is moving between approximately 15 and 32 miles per hour, 25 to 52 kilometers an hour. When triggered, pyrotechnic actuators raise the rear portion of the hood to increase the space between the hood and the components beneath it. So in the extremely unlikely event that a pedestrian is struck by a Cybercab, it will do its best to protect them. And check this out. We are seeing a representation of what anybody might see on the Cybercab screen when they are connected to a Tesla support agent. But wait, there's more. Initiating a stop. Cybercab Robotaxi is designed to detect when a first responder vehicle is following Cybercab Robotaxi with lights and sirens on. This is obviously extremely important. You do not want a brain-dead autonomous vehicle out on roads that can't see and or hear sirens and emergency lights and get the fuck out of the way. I'm not going to call out any companies operating vehicles that have this fatal flaw, but obviously you need to be able to hear and see lights and sirens. So here's what happens. When Cybercab Robotaxi detects that a first responder vehicle is following with lights and sirens active, the Cybercab Robotaxi vehicle pulls over and parks at the first safe location available, which is exactly what a non-retarded human being would do. When pulling over, Cybercab Robotaxi attempts to avoid entering or blocking private driveways. If on the highway after moving to the rightmost traffic lane, Cybercab Robotaxi might take some time to identify a safe location to pull over and stop. After pulling over and parking, autonomous mode disengages and Cybercab Robotaxi rapidly flashes the hazard lights for the duration of the stop to indicate the vehicle is now parked and safe to approach. Cybercab Robotaxi then remains stationary until a Tesla representative remotely moves the vehicle or re-engages autonomous mode. Before approaching the vehicle, Tesla recommends you contact Tesla Robotaxi first responder support to ensure that autonomous mode is disabled and that the vehicle is safely immobilized. The Tesla representative can then remotely unlock the doors, hood, or trunk as needed. Now, here's where things get extremely interesting. During a stop, when a stop begins, Cybercab Robotaxi initiates two-way communication between the vehicle and Tesla Robotaxi support. First responders can then speak to the Tesla representative using the on-board sound systems, which include speakers on the underside of the Cybercab, microphones on the B-pillars, we can see those here, and the speakers and microphones in the vehicle cabin. Tesla Cybercab first responder support can roll down the windows of Cybercab on request. Now, I know to some people this level of detail might sound a little bit boring and who cares, bro, but let's think through this. These are the kind of situations that would completely fuck everything if they weren't addressed. One incident, one problem, there's an emergency, no way to communicate, can't move the thing, get stuck, whatever. The next 3 months, endless Tesla FUD because of a single incident. We have confirmation that Tesla has designed their Cybercab Robotaxi to be able to see and hear sirens. It has a stop mode where, should it see or hear sirens behind, will pull over when and where safe, and then automatically activate communication with Tesla's dedicated Robotaxi first responder support line, activating a B-pillar microphone, enabling two-way communication between anyone that should approach the vehicle and need assistance, ask for it to be moved, and so on. They've thought about this. Put simply, if a Cybercab sees sirens or hears sirens behind it, it will automatically pull over, disengage autonomous mode, come to a complete stop where safe, rapidly flash its hazard lights to visually indicate to other road users that it's currently pulled over for an emergency situation, automatically initiates two-way communication with Tesla's Robotaxi support, activates the microphone and speakers, meaning that first responders can immediately speak directly to Tesla support through the vehicle's built-in audio system. And if, upon pulling over and calling home for a little bit of help, initiating the two-way communication system, the Tesla supervisor remotely sees that there are no first responders, the vehicle's pulled over, it was simply being passed by an emergency vehicle, it's still pulled over, did the safe thing, they can simply tell it, re-engage autonomous mode and carry on. So what's left to do? Cybercab production has commenced. We're seeing them pop up all over the US, multiple cities, multiple states. Now, the Tesla Robotaxi first responder support documentation has appeared online. This is a very strong signal. It's almost time, folks. I'll be very surprised if sometime in the next quarter, we don't see the first Tesla Cybercabs begin operating commercially somewhere in the United States. Thanks for watching. If you appreciate the content and want to support the channel, check out the links below where you can get early access to daily videos, unlock hundreds of exclusive pieces of content, and plenty more. AG1 has been part of my daily health protocol for almost half a decade. It's packed full of vitamins and minerals and helps me fill in nutritional gaps while supporting energy, digestion, and immune function. It also has prebiotics and probiotics to promote gut health. I take my health very seriously, and so should you. Try AG1 today by visiting drinkag1.com/SMR or click the link in the pinned comment and enjoy a free welcome kit with vitamin D3 plus K2 and AG1 travel packs. That's drinkag1.com/SMR.